G'day and welcome back to my hobby room. And don't forget, scale modelling is a lifesaver. That's right. And t-shirts with the new logo are now available from the merchandise store, and there'll be free shipping, I think, next week. Have a look out for it. Yep. Keep an eye on the store on this free shipping. Yes, everyone likes that, don't they? Yes, we don't want to pay for bloody shipping. It's no secret that I love Airfix, right? And yes, I grew up with Airfix. They were the first kits that I built in the 60s. And now, Airfix, I mean, I've got a whole pile of them here and a whole pile of ships there. And I'm building, you know, the Heracles, right? And yes, I did promise if there were 10,000 views on that video, I would complete the build. And that is going to happen. And you are so close. You are so close. There's about 20% more to go. So, yeah. If you haven't seen that video, check the end of this video for a link and you can watch that, and I'll be finishing that kit soon. But more about that later. Now, Airfix. So is it just old men looking back with, you know, rose-tinted glasses at those halcyon days of their youth when the most exciting thing they did was fiddle with their willy? No, because I am reloving Airfix now in my aged decrepitness. That kit, right, the Heracles, I never built that one as a kid. Didn't know about it. All right. It's something that I've experienced now, and it is new to me now, and yet all the joy is there. Okay, I am familiar with Airfix kits, so sure, there's a bit of a family sort of thing there that an Airfix kit has a certain level of expectation. And maybe that's it. With an Airfix kit, there's a certain level of input and a certain level of enjoyment expected out of it. And that formula, once you understand it and once you embrace it, makes the whole experience so much more wonderful than one of these brand new, fantastically designed, perfect fitting kits, which are great. They're well engineered, they're very clever and all the rest of it, but they have sucked the joy out of what was the hobby. They've taken the modelling away from scale modelling and just turned it into scale assembly and painting. At least that's my feeling. Tell you what, let's have a talk about this. Roll the music. So why is it lots of people like myself really still yearn for and love the old Airfix kits? Now, for me, that's what I grew up with, okay? So for me, yeah, it was an experience. It was an experience that I first had of plastic scale modelling. I built balsa kits with my dad, and we would work from plans and just have pieces of balsa, right? Rods and planks and things, and you had to make the kit out of that, out of nothing, right? Out of material. There was nothing. You'd have the plan, you'd work out everything, you'd mark it out, you'd pin drawings to a table, and you'd build the whole thing up, and there you go. And we built aircraft. We built planes that flew, and that's what we did. And then I built ships and all kinds of stuff. You know, I had a lot of fun building things. I'd create things literally from scratch. All you had was the base timber, if you like, okay? The base wood, balsa wood. And from that you had to carve and shape and cut and measure and then put it together and imagine and sand and smooth it and get the thing. Nobody was making you a box and saying, here it is, it's already done. It's got the correct amount of rivets. It's all done, it's shaped perfectly, it all fits perfectly. All you got to do is go, done. And all the fun you'll have is painting it. No, the fun was in the creation. Was in thinking things through and keeping your mind active. Now, this is an important thing as you get older. It's very important to keep your mind active, and a lot of people have taken up hobbies and crafts in their later age, right, to try and stop getting dementia. We, as modelers, we already sort of had that skill. We already were doing that, although a lot of us have retired and returned back to the hobby. This is a good thing, keeping your mind active. This is a very important thing. As you get older, like you young millennials, you don't worry about this now because your brain's working at a million miles an hour and all the hormones are pumping through you. Yes, I know, you're living that experience. Well, I'm an old bugger. There's no whores moaning at my place. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's just not happening. No, there is no in and out. No. That doesn't matter because I'm building scale models because I'm old, right? Now, the thing is, yeah, your mind, you'll lose it if you don't use it. Now, I've just recently got back into CAD, right, computer-aided design. I did it many, many years ago, and I had a huge business, that was over a decade ago, of building castles, Second Life. Yep, biggest castle builder in the world. Virtual. And that was great. And imagining things and then translating them into computer equations and using primitive shapes to build things. But this was a skill that wasn't far removed from building a balsa model. You had your primitives, you had your rods of balsa and your planks of balsa and your blocks of balsa, and you had to convert and change those into three-dimensional curved shaped objects and figure out how everything fitted together. I had that skill. So now going to CAD and doing the 3D printing, it's just an extension of that skill. So how does this equate to Airfix, Harry? What's it got to do with it? Computers? They weren't around. Well, they were. Computers were around in the 60s, but still they were in great big rooms, and they were called HAL. Open the pod bay doors, HAL. I'm sorry, Dave. I cannot do that. Yes, there's a famous 60s movie where the computer went maniacal. Anyhow, yes, computers. Always taking over the world, apparently. They are. That's another story. We don't even want to go there. We'll do a whole video on AI and how it's going to ruin the hobby. That's a whole subject itself. Getting back to Airfix, okay? My first experience of Airfix was enjoyable because it wasn't that far removed from a wood kit. My father would argue otherwise. He'd go, oh, you know, he built his first little plastic Airfix kit. He went, oh, this is boring. Just cut it all, you put it together. Oh, yeah. But I saw more in that. I enjoyed the whole process of construction, and you still had to cut a few things, and you had to shape a few things, and sure, I got a finished thing faster, but I got a nice little thing. I mean, the wood stuff we built was, you know, you were building big things. You didn't build tiny things out of wood, you built big things. So they kind of filled up the place, and, you know, we had to keep them in the garage. Whereas here was a way for me to build things and do creation, and they were small. They were only 1/72nd scale at that stage. Those Spitfires and Messy Smiths and that sort of thing. So I could build these things, and sometimes I painted them, you know, and they came with this magical thing called a decal. Yes, a water slide transfer. And we never had this. We didn't have this with the balsa. We had to actually paint the rondelles and do all that sort of stuff. So we had to use a compass. Couldn't think of it. Brain's not working. We've got Alzheimer's. We had to use a compass to draw a circle. Then we had to paint within that. So, you know, our painting skills were that sort of thing, to get those sort of things right. We didn't have any of the improvements that came long later. So getting this plastic kit that I could build with a little bit of paint, I could then put the waterside transfers on it, and wow, there it was. And I'd watched the Battle of Britain movie at this period. It was all happening at the same time. The big Battle of Britain movie came out when they, you know, big colour. It was the biggest thing then. And so here I was building the Spitfires, building the Messerschmitts, building the Heinkels, building the Stukas, and making models that were the same colour, close to. And they had the insignias and everything on them. They were perfect because they were, you know, tiny. I wouldn't be able to paint them that tiny. So they just stuck on and went, this is a revelation. This is so much fun. And it used to take me a month to save up, and then I'd buy the kit and build it in a day. But this was the thing. This was a joy. This was quite a process, and it was terrific. Into the 70s, I did more complicated kits, right? So 60s, I was just doing very baggy Airfix stuff and everything. In the 70s, I started doing the bigger ships. I started doing different things. I did the Joan of Arc, right? Painted all the armour on that and really enjoyed doing that. I remember the Cuddy Sark. I went down to the hobby store, well, not the hobby store at this stage, it was the hardware store. There wasn't anything like a hobby store where I lived. There was the newsagent that had plastic kits on the shelf, right? Later on, Woolworths had them. The hobby store, that was way down, you know, miles away down the hill in Perth. My dad picked stuff up for me. You know, he'd get it from that the store in Perth, the big hobby store. And they were mainly trains. I mean, basically, they started out as sort of a model train thing, and then there's these plastic kits coming along, and suddenly this whole plastic kit explosion happened. And being Perth, it was basically on the run from everything coming down from the UK. We got UK products, so I only experienced Airfix. That was my diet. It was Airfix, 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 Airfix for many, many years. Only in the 70s did I start building some Revel kits and a few other things. And I didn't like the Revel kits. I didn't think they were as good as the Airfix kits. I actually thought they didn't fit as well, and they didn't seem to be as well produced. The Airfix kits, probably by the 70s, they were getting quite good. I've reviewed a few of them here, like the, the E-boat. Beautiful kit. Fits together well. Sure, you're still going to do some trimming and fiddling and faffing, but we didn't think twice about it. We didn't go, oh, it's got flash. We just went, oh, there's a bit we need to clean up. That was par for the course. That's what we did. And this was the joy of Airfix. The fact that you participated in the build. You made it your own. No two of us built the kit exactly the same. We all modified it and adjusted it. Or maybe we added some features that we saw on the artwork and went, oh, that's nice. It's got a widget there. That's not in the plastic kit. I'll make it. And we weren't afraid to do that because we'd come from this background of building wood kits. And so, you know, bit of wire, bit of wood, just add a little thing. That was nothing. That was considered part of the build. We didn't go, oh, this kit is inaccurate. I counted the rivets and they're all wrong. None of that bullshit went on. We were just happy that Airfix had gone to the trouble to make something that was facsimile of something that was in the culture of our lives, and that then we could take it as little or as far as we wanted and produce something we were proud of and we put on our shelf. That was the whole thing. Coming to the modern day, right? Why is Airfix so relevant? Well, ignore the 80s and the 90s, right? I don't even go there because I didn't go there. Right? I was married, I had a career, I was, you know, making children, all that sort of stuff. I didn't do any scale modelling. I actually did have a kit that I was building. Actually, I don't know what brand it was. It was actually a little Porsche Carrera convertible. And my fiancée went, oh, you don't play with toys still, do you? Yeah, well, 7 years later I divorced her. Yeah, enough of that crap. Yes. But anyhow, this was the thing. It was seen as something a kid would do, and the hobby wasn't serious for adults. So is Airfix still relevant today? Yes, I think it is. Okay, there is the nostalgia value, and we're buying those old kits. I mean, those old kit videos that I do, they are the most popular. They get the most views, response, they get the most comments. You know, this is the thing. Everyone's going, oh, I remember that from my day. Sure, there's looking back with rose-tinted glasses at a time when we were young and it was something we enjoyed. But I'm building a lot of these kits for the very first time. I never built them before. I didn't build the Hercules. I didn't build a lot of things. The BMW bike, I hadn't built bikes. I didn't build motorbikes back then. Dad had ridden motorbikes but then told us all never to buy them because all his mates had died on motorbikes, right? So he swore, you're riding a motorbike. Of course, I went out and bought a motorbike in my late teens and didn't tell him. He got very mad with me. But I couldn't take it back. I scratched it. Anyhow, Airfix, right? Now, well, the model company went through some doldrums in the 80s, 90s, and thank goodness I wasn't alive for that. Well, I wasn't alive in the modelling sense, right? I was busy being tormented by my wives. And, you know, trying to get a career and trying to be famous, you know. Oh, if only we'd had YouTube back then, it would have been so much easier. Anyhow, so I came back to the hobby in the 21st century and Airfix had changed a lot. But I didn't see the bad years. I just jumped in with that Skyhawk kit and Airfix was terrific. Here it was. I thought, gee, it's a bit better moulded than it used to be. And why, it fits together a lot better. It still needed some tidying up and finishing, but I thought that was nothing. I thought nothing about that. Everything that everyone else was whinging and complaining about, I went, what are you on about? This is a fantastic kit. Look how well it fits. Look how crisply it's moulded. It's absolutely lovely. Look at the instructions. I can actually read them. It's not just one exploded drawing that I'm going to have to sit there and try and figure out what everything's going on. I thought, this is just too easy. This is really good. Nothing wrong with Airfix. So this is the thing. It's all about context. So if you came from the 60s or the 50s and you knew about the models back then, or you came in through the route as I did of building wooden models, then your experience now with Airfix is coloured completely differently, right? If you're a millennial and you've just jumped in the 21st century and you've got all these choices, right? We didn't have these choices. I had Airfix. That was my choice. That was all that was available. And later on a bit of Revel and, you know, occasionally the odd bloody thing. I didn't see Tamiya until 2005. That's when I saw Tamiya. My first experience with Tamiya. And we've talked about that and how disappointing that was. Everyone raved about this Tamiya. This Tamiya is the best thing sliced bread. Well, mine wasn't. Mine wasn't at all. I went, God, give me an Airfix kit any day. This Tamiya stuff's rubbish. But of course, I was coming at it from a different angle. Unfortunately, probably got the worst Tamiya kit that you probably could start with. And so that coloured my whole experience. And this is the thing. If you've come through the 80s and you're, you know, a whole American Tamiya thing, because that's where you're from, then Airfix doesn't make sense to you because it's a totally different philosophy. And I get that, I understand that. But there's nothing wrong with Airfix. And Airfix is going to keep your brain working. If your kit goes together too easily, right, then you're not doing any thinking. You're just, you know, shake, 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 bake. and that's okay while you're a millennial. That might be okay in your middle years. But as you get older, if they're the things you're going to be building, you're not going to make your brain work much, are you? Unless it's the painting side and you're really into that and somehow that keeps your brain. I don't know. For me, the painting's boring. I get it over as fast as possible. Don't like it. I do it because I have to. I don't enjoy it. I like the results, but I can't spend hours and hours and hours chipping a tank. You know, it's tantamount to counting rivets. Can't be bothered with that either. It's got rivets on it. That's great. Don't care how many. As long as it looks like it's got rivets on it. So Airfix keeps your mind going because you have to correct things. You have to fix things. You have to adjust things. You never expect it's going to fit. You have to dry fit all your parts. You have to check them. You have to modify them. Right? Not so much with the latest kits, they pretty well click together. But sometimes there are errors, especially with the plastic that's come from India. You know, you'd have to check and see what's going on there. So to sum things up, I'd say, look, experience an Airfix kit, but go into it open-mindedly, right? Don't expect it to be tampered. It's not, okay? It's like eating an orange, expect it to be like an apple and go, oh, this is horrible, right? Point of reference. Go into it wide-eyed, like a child, open-minded, and just experience it and see how it all goes. And realise you're going to have to shape a few things. You're going to have to fit a few things. But go with the process. Because if you hate building things, well, don't build Airfix. Airfix is all about the construction, right? There's a lot of that. And that is the joy to me and to millions of other people around the world, let me tell you. And a lot of the people that watch this channel. So if you want to keep your brain going, build an Airfix kit. That will make your brain think and work. You don't have to scratch build everything like I do. Just slightly modifying it, problem solving, getting it to work, getting it to fit together. And then you have the joy and the satisfaction of actually making it work and producing something that is better than the original. That's the thing. You've become a scale modeler. You're not an assembler and a painter anymore. You are a scale modeler. Now, there's a lot of you going to scream and shout and carry on and everything. All right, we can have that big fight in the comments. Just be respectful. I mean, present your opinion, all the rest of it. Talk about your experience. I will understand all that. I'll listen to it and I'll be nice and I'll talk back. But don't be nasty and don't go, Airfix is rubbish, only Tammy is good. Ban, delete. Don't. It's stupid. Engage. Tell me your experience. All right? And if you've only experienced the Airfix kits from the 80s, yeah, you probably will hate them. And I've tried so hard on this channel to explain that was a period. The early stuff, fantastic. Current stuff, fantastic. Let's just forget the 80s and 90s ever existed. Yeah, it's just... Alright, it's time for the buttons. It's time for the buttons. Yeah, effing buttons. You've got to push effing buttons. To make everything work around here, there's got to be liking and sharing and circumcising and I don't know, there's a whole lot of stuff you've got to do. Apparently. And you can buy me a curry. I always enjoy a curry. Yeah. If you like what I do, like to support me, buy me a curry. Oh, you can join Patreon and become a YouTube member. There's plenty of ways to support me. Okay? You can put cash in the post, as one person is apparently doing right now. Whether it'll actually ever get to me, I don't know. But anyhow, there you go. All right, well, look, I hope you enjoyed this video. And please, yeah, feel free to comment, share your experience, be respectful about it. I'd love to hear your point of view and what your life experience has been with modelling. Because that's important to me. I learn from that, as I hope you learn from me. All right, goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini.